Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum to keep up to date with the community debate. And if you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you would like to join this discussion right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching. Then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Quantum Eraser, Slick James Johnson, Paul, Flatten Earth, Eben, Chocolate Saying, Brenda, Arwin, and Anon Moto. Massive shout out to Colin Turner for hitting the super chat. Welcome, one and all.
Hello.
So, any evidence for the flat Earth?
Yes, there's loads. We see it on screen right now. This would be a demonstration of perspective. No curvature in these wind turbines that are going into the distance. And when you see them side profile, there's no curvature either. So these things that we see are just simply effects of perspective, things getting smaller into the distance, Brenda. As I say,
I don't see the base of those wind turbines.
You don't need to. Here you go. There's them on their side. There's absolutely no curve to them whatsoever.
Yeah, how much side-to-side curvature would you expect to see?
Some, if we lived on a sphere. Do you know how much we do see?
Would it be measurable?
How much do you think we do see? None. That's how much we see. Absolutely none.
On the globe model, how much side-to-side curvature would one expect to see within that?
Who cares? We don't live on a model. Hey, Zinda. How you doing?
Hi, everyone.
Well, the model makes predictions.
No, it doesn't.
And that's how we decide. Yes, it
it's
does.
pseudoscience. Pseudoscience predictions, like Mystic Meg predictions, I couldn't give a toss about.
You don't care about predictions?
Pseudoscience predictions. That's what I just said. I don't care about Mystic Meg predictions or pseudoscience predictions. Not interested.
What is pseudoscience, Nathan?
A non-adherence to the scientific method.
Like the globe.
And
Did
so,
you say no, Brenda?
So it doesn't
I
make
said
doesn't
no.
make
pseudoscience?
Okay.
doesn't make scientific
I said
predictions.
no.
It's not scientific. It makes Mystic Meg predictions.
I don't know what that means.
It means it's like looking into a crystal ball and saying, I can see money in your future. That kind of prediction. Not scientific prediction, not empirical.
We construct a model from which we use to make from which we make predictions and conduct further experiments. And either
She just says the same thing over and over
or
again.
reject those predictions, right?
Right?
No,
If
first
the
you
model
have to
scientific
actually
predictions is what he's
scientifically
saying.
prove something.
No.
No,
So,
science never proves anything.
yes,
you know.
it does. It
Oh,
proves or disproves your hypothesis. Otherwise
You
known...
can't.
Sorry, I was in the middle of a sentence, Brenda. Otherwise known as a scientific prediction. So science does prove or disprove your scientific prediction, otherwise known as a hypothesis. You are wrong. Science does prove things.
No, that's false. Science can only falsify claims. It can't.
No, it can falsify the null or alternative hypothesis. If you falsify the null, you confirm the alternative hypothesis. If you
No, that's
falsify,
false.
I hadn't finished. If you falsify the alternative, then you confirm. Do you know what another word for confirm is? Validate. Do you know what another word for validate is? Prove the null. So you either validate or invalidate your hypothesis. You prove or disprove it, Brenda. You are wrong.
Yeah, that's false. What you're talking about is called logical positivism, which is
No, it's not logical positivism. It is the scientific method, an empirical method of ascertaining, or another word for ascertaining, proving the cause of an effect.
Yeah.
That's what
Guys,
method is.
can I jump in real quick?
It never proves anything. It falsifies premises. It doesn't prove them.
Yeah, I'll say it again. You can falsify the alternative, in which case you would validate the null. Or you can falsify the null, in which case you validate the alternative. That's why it's an empirical method. You either
false.
invalidate or validate your hypothesis. It proves or disproves your scientific prediction. I'll say it again. You are just wrong. Science does prove things.
Yeah. You are accurately relating what is called logical positivism, which is no
Or
longer
actually, you're actually related.
Wait a minute, hold it,
negative
guys.
It's called the
logical.
Guys,
scientific method.
I'm gonna
called-
jump in here again.
It's called the falsification
Brenda,
principle.
hold on a second.
No, it's
Brenda,
called the scientific method.
Brenda, hold on a second. Can I ask anybody to hold on a second, just please, for me? Do me a favor. Brenda is trying to explain her case, and soon as she starts talking, 4 people start talking. At least let her say what she has to say, and then just let the conversation be one way. Her and Nathan was talking. How can she have a conversation with 4 people?
Right. So it's fairly simple. Back in the 1950s, Karl Popper introduced what's called the falsification principle because people had problems with what was up to then called logical positivism, which is the belief that science can verify and prove claims to be true. And science can't do that. It can only falsify claims.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's
share-
why
share your
it should be
screen,
called
support it.
illogical negativism, not logical positivism.
Share your
I mean,
screen.
you're,
We want
you're
citation
wrong.
support. Share your screen. Citation support, please.
Well, Brenda's wrong. She can't.
Well, let's just
find
see if you
anything
can
to
support
cite.
it. Let's say
So-
you support
so-
for this assertion, Brenda.
What?
You've
There were
made an
several people
assertion.
talking.
Now we're asking you to support your assertion.
Oh, just look up logical positivism.
No.
principle,
Let me just explain it again. Hold on, Brenda. Don't ask me to assert it or look it up. You do it.
No.
No. So you're just
Yeah.
going to make an assertion and then ask us to back it up
then
for
why do we
you?
have to even listen to you, Brenda?
Just look it up. Yeah.
If you
just
want to
look it
assert
up.
something and you have no evidence to back it, why should we even take your evidence into consideration?
My assertion is that Karl Popper introduced what's called the falsification principle. You can simply Google that and find it on Wikipedia really easily. Look it up.
Actually, you can't. It's wrong.
Wiki Google
I
science.
mean, you only find
we're not here to
illogical
support your
negativism when you look
claims.
it up.
Brenda, you provide citation support and then provide an example of your
got
claim.
the citation.
We want a demonstration and an example.
I got a citation. I don't have an example, but I just posted it in the chat. Like, a scientific hypothesis has to be testable and also has to be falsifiable. In other words, there must be a way to try to make the hypothesis fail, which means it
The null
doesn't
hypothesis.
fully prove anything.
Thanks.
Yes, that's correct. It would be called a null.
No, that's not a null hypothesis.
No, that's not what it's talking about. You're
Oh, really?
after the experiment.
Hold on, John. Hold on. Maybe you can tell me how it becomes an empirical method.
Well, that's the point. It doesn't fully prove anything. It is just the it leads to the point where, let's say, the hypothesis is the best way to describe something you see. But
Sorry, it's not a description. It's a prediction. It's a supposition. It's not an explanation. It's a supposition. A presumption that you will validate or invalidate by way of experimentation.
Yeah,
it's not an
let's talk
explanation.
over me then. All right, sure, I wasn't.
Well, you
finished,
were wrong.
but you
Yeah, I
fuckwit-
do that when people are wrong,
you
Cinder.
fuckwits talk over me. No, that's
Yeah,
what I,
because you're
let me
wrong.
finish.
I'm not going to continue and listen to your nonsense for another 2 minutes when you're just wrong.
Oh, sure, you determine what's right and wrong because you know so much. But anyway, if we want to go that way, I better leave because otherwise I'm always getting talked over and muted and everything. So
Go
yeah,
play
you're
the
right.
Oh,
Slit.
my
Thank you.
bad.
Bard,
Oh,
somewhere
let me
else.
play you a little violin, Cinder. Na 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 na. Go and walk off into the distance, Cinder. We'll all cry.
Thank you very much for showing me that you have no idea what you are talking
are you
about.
done?
Yeah, no worries. I'll just reiterate what I'm talking about. A hypothesis, otherwise known as a scientific prediction, is empirical because it has two sides to it. One that says you're right and one that says you're not right. And you will validate one or other side of a hypothesis with experimentation. You will either prove your alternative hypothesis, in which case you have established the cause of an effect, or you will prove your null, which is to say that you got a zero difference and did not confirm the cause of an effect. That is why it is an empirical method, because it has two sides, an alternative and a null. You will validate or invalidate your scientific prediction when you perform an experiment.
Yeah, that's not the scientific method. That's not
Yeah,
science.
Brenda, that's not what you think the scientific method is.
Guys, you know what? Still, I'm sitting here listening. I'm the audience, and this is just not fair. What's going on here is not being equal time allowed. And when one person speaks, somebody cuts them off. It's not. That's just not being fair. A person.
I didn't cut off Brenda, sorry.
Hold on, I'm not even finished. A person has a right to be wrong. You can't just kind of berate them for being wrong. They get to be wrong when they're presenting their case, just like in a murder trial. The defense knows his client is guilty, but he's got to make his case. You can't just say, well, no, you're guilty. We know you killed him, and I'm not going to let you say anything. That doesn't work.
Well, we tried to
We
let
let
her
Brenda
present her
talk.
case with citation support, Slick, and she said
Yeah.
no.
I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, go ahead.
Brenda's
what is-
been on
what is the
less
highlight?
than I have, but has talked more than I have.
What does the highlighted text say?
Can't read
Somebody
it, it's
read
too
that?
small.
Could
Can you read
somebody
it for
that
us?
for me?
I can't, it's too small. Can you read it for us, please?
Oh, it says, contrary to popular belief, there's no such thing as scientific proof. Proof only exists in math and logic, not in science.
You're wrong.
Sorry, this is from
I'm not
Sorry, this is from Psychology Today. So
Yeah,
these would be
psychology is a science, dude.
no, it's a pseudoscience. Sorry, did you not know that, Brenda? This is a pseudoscience.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. That's your explanation. Maybe Brenda, maybe you can tell us how it is science.
Because it adheres to the scientific method.
Excellent. You give me any independent variable from a psychologist.
I'm not a psychologist, so I'm
That's not what I asked. I didn't ask. Was my question, are you a psychologist? Or was my question, give me any independent variable, otherwise known as presumed cause, that will be varied and manipulated by a researcher to cause a phenomenon? You tell me any from that particular science.
That would depend on the hypothesis, wouldn't it?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, every hypothesis would have a different assumed cause, wouldn't it?
Yeah, give me one in psychology.
Huh. I don't know any.
That's because there isn't any. It's pseudoscience, you stupid idiot.
The fact that I don't know any doesn't mean there isn't any.
No, they just can't control natural phenomena with variable causes. It's quackery.
Of course you can.
Oh,
course you
really?
can.
Tell me one.
I don't know of any.
Yeah,
right
me
now.
neither. It's because it's not science, dickhead. Pseudoscience.
The fact that I don't.
So you can't
I'm not
support your
a psychologist.
argument, but you're going to babble on about it anyway. So you cannot support this argument, Brenda.
Yes, I can. Sure.
Go on then. Give me an independent variable
Yeah.
from psychology.
Psychology is a science.
Give me an independent variable from it then.
It depends on what the hypothesis.
Not it depends, just give me one.
I don't know of any. I'm not.
So
a
you
psychologist.
cannot support this argument then, can you?
Sure, I can. Sure, I can.
So go
You
on
have-
then, give me one. Give me an independent variable from psychology.
I don't know of any.
That's because there isn't any.
No, that doesn't follow.
Here we go. Round and round we go.
Okay, I tell you what.
Nathan.
Let me ask a question because I'm listening and I'm trying. Let me see if I can clarify terms. Brenda, when you say there's an independent variable in psychology, what exactly do you mean? Are you saying that we're not talking about like physical science and we're talking mental science? What do you mean there?
Psychology is a science. It adheres to the scientific method.
Okay, but so we're not talking physical science. You're just talking about something mental. But the thing,
Physical science. I don't know what you mean.
no, I'm saying I think that
I could actually give him one.
on this side of the argument, they're talking about science in the physical, natural world, but you're talking about psychology. So I think that we're on two different pages, is what's happening here.
Hold on,
No.
hold on, Brenda. Got somebody qualified on the panel to answer this question. Go ahead, Paul.
I'm not necessarily qualified, but I could give you a hypothesis. There's nature versus nurture. You know, does the environment determine the makeup or the psychology of an individual? So you got, I mean, I couldn't break it down. Somebody else could probably break it down, but that's a hypothesis. Nature determines the outcome of somebody's psychology.
Well, twin experiments within psychology would represent experiments within a independent variable, dependent variable, and a control.
Yeah, that would depend on.
You won't
Right,
have
so
any.
you'd have
You
to-
won't have any. Can I solve this, Nathan? Can you share my screen? I can go ahead and solve this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tell me when my screen sharing, please.
Well, it's going to be available for the audience only and not the Hangout, unfortunately. So if you're watching this in the Hangout, then you'll need to go to the watch page to actually see John's page. Okay,
All right,
you're presented to the audience now.
All right. Her claim was the science doesn't prove anything. I'm going to show you that it does, and I'm going to provide 10 examples. So my citation support from the nature of science and the scientific method. Once the hypothesis has been established, it is time to test it. The process of experimentation is what sets science apart from other disciplines. It leads to discoveries every day. An experiment is designed to prove or disprove the hypothesis. If your prediction is correct, you will not be able to reject the hypothesis. So, scientists using the scientific method have proven 1 through 10. Water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Celsius at sea level. That's 1 atmosphere of pressure. Number 2, combustion is the result of oxidation reactions. Number 3, information is only caused by intelligent agency. Number 4, the lack of insulin with type 1 diabetes patients results in ketoacidosis. Number 5, the lack of vitamin C intake in humans results in scurvy. Number 6, knowledge of the existence of the witch path information collapses the wave function. Number 7, the rapid motion and collisions of molecules with the walls of the container causes gas pressure. Number 8, magnetism is caused by the motion of electric charge. Number 9, the Coriolis force is caused by 2 differing frames of reference. 1 rotating coordinate system, that's non-inertial, and 1 non-rotating coordinate system, inertial. And number 10, gluconeogenesis results in the production of glucose from specific non-carbohydrate precursors. These are all absolutely true, proven, inviolable, never to be falsified. Thank you.
Yeah, that's wrong. Water doesn't boil always at 212 degrees. If you take water up top, it does not boil at 212 degrees.
Okay. Guys, please let her speak. I want to hear what she has to say. Please.
Yeah, he's just wrong. Water doesn't boil at 212 degrees. It does at sea level, but not, say, at 14,000 feet on a mountain.
But that's not my claim. That's not the claim. That's not the claim.
It's not absolute.
Water boils. Listen to me. You're not dealing with the claim. It's a straw man. My claim is water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Celsius at sea level.
Oh, okay, fine.
It also boils at 212 degrees up in 14,000 feet too. It doesn't have to, but it does.
So I just provided citation support showing that experiment proves or disproves hypotheses. I've given 10 examples where the scientific method has validated or confirmed, in other words, proved the cause. Thank
Now,
you.
Yeah,
me
Have a
as
nice
a
day.
What's
me
your
as
source? What's your
me
source?
as yeah, what's the source?
What's the source of what?
Your
No,
claim.
she's asking what's the source of what you're just saying.
So,
Where'd you get
all
this
these
from?
claims right here?
Yeah,
The
what's your source?
experiments? The source is me.
No, the source you claimed that science is proof. What was your
Oh.
source for that? You read something.
Right here. Christine McClellan, The Nature of Science and the Scientific Method.
Who is she? Do you have a link?
The Nature of
In
Science and the
rebuttal-
Scientific Method from the Geological Society of America, and I'll show you the part where it says that, where I pulled it from. Can you all see this?
The audience can.
No.
No. You'll have to go to the watch page, unfortunately.
Right there.
Okie dokie.
Thank you very much.
So science can prove things. And how does it prove things?
By systematic experimentation based on hypothesis.
Right. So we can prove that the Earth is a sphere, right?
You tell me.
Yes. How would we do that?
You tell me.
Oh, by hypothesis and experimentation, right?
If you wanted to use the
Then
scientific
it's
method.
Vary your independent variable.
Hold
Right.
on. If you want to, then you can attempt to.
We're ready.
Well, sure.
Natural
Oh, sure.
phenomena observed, please. Here we go.
Yeah.
We still sharing?
Sunsets.
Okay.
Sunsets are only possible. Sunsets are only possible on a global.
Hold on a second. We don't need no
Hold on.
declarations. We're going through the scientific method.
Let me just fill everyone what's going on. Because Google Hangouts won't let me share Skype for some reason, unfortunately, if you want to pay attention to what's actually being presented to the audience, you have to be in the audience as well. So if you're on the panel, you have to go to the watch page, but make sure you mute it. Okay, so natural phenomena observed. Step 1. Wonderful. We've got a phenomenon. Sunsets. Okie dokie.
All right, sunsets,
the
and that's your dependent. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. We need the alternative hypothesis.
Well, sunsets is just a word. So the phenomenon observed would be sunsets.
Yeah, we got
Right?
that. Yeah, we got that.
Right. So the
ahead.
hypothesis, not the alternative hypothesis, but the hypothesis.
No, that's the
Would-
alternative hypothesis. You're going to have two, alternative and the null. Give me the alternative hypothesis.
Where's the hypothesis, though?
Yeah,
Right
the
here.
alternative hypothesis is your hypothesis.
Let,
my
let Brenda go for a whole 2 minutes. Let her
My
her
hypothesis.
explain the entire experiment.
My
I think the
hypothesis.
problem is, Eben, is if she doesn't understand how to formulate a hypothesis, that's fine. I can just explain it to her. That's fine. We have gone through this with you disagreeing
Yes, I
with
know.
us quite emphatically, Brenda. The reason it proves or disproves things is because you have two sides to the hypothesis. One is your supposition, which is to say, your presumed cause of the effect. The other is your zero difference result, your null, which will be basically the same as your alternative, other than to declare that what you presumed will cause the effect causes nothing, zero difference.
Yeah, but most natural phenomena are not true dichotomies.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. My kid was making a lot of noise. Can you just repeat
Most-
that, please?
Most natural phenomena are not true dichotomies.
Wait, no.
Therefore,
we're not talking about
there
dichotomies. We're talking about a natural phenomena, which you will go on
Right.
to presume a cause of. That's it. That's all we're doing at this stage. So
Okay,
far
she's
we've
having
got...
a hold on a second. She's having a problem, Nathan. She said she didn't know what the hypothesis. She was getting confused between a hypothesis and a null. So listen up, California State University. To do a hypothesis test experiment, you will actually have two hypotheses: the null and the alternative hypothesis. You see this right here? Does that solve it for you? So let's go back. We're going to ask you again. We have the natural phenomena observed. You gave us sunsets. We need the alternative hypothesis. See the alternative here and the null down here? See, we're going to get to null here in a few minutes, but we want the alternative first.
That sunsets are caused by the rotation of the Earth.
Actually, one scientific experiment actually negates that, because there's a phenomenon called sunrise, and that phenomenon is caused by no spinning globe model.
Thank you. What's the independent variable?
What you just said didn't make any sense, Brenda.
Right, but she's got to get a chance to go ahead, because her and John are doing this, and I'm trying to.
Why do you keep doing this to me, James?
Guys, let's just get this back
again.
under control.
Brenda has been on less than I have, but has spoken more than I have.
Hold on.
Every time I interject when there's a pause in whatever is being said, I get butted into, just like Brenda's doing to me. But I wait for the opening.
Goodbye.
But every time I wait for the opening, no one lets me speak. They go, hey, why don't you just let Brenda speak? You let Brenda speak all the time.
The thing is,
but then whenever there's a pause and I want to speak,
Brenda left.
Someone says, hey, why don't you just let Brenda speak?
You got all the
chances. I'm letting Brenda speak.
You got all the chance in the world now.
Yeah, but now Brenda's not here. I like to speak when there's a pause. But every time I do that, it's like, let Brenda speak. Brenda spoke.
But the
Brenda had
problem
a pause. I
but
speak. Now I'm being interrupted saying, hey, why don't you let Brenda speak?
Because the problem is her and John were in a conversation. You can't jump in their conversation, because now you got her having a conversation with two people. That's difficult.
I know it's difficult, but Brenda does it. Whenever someone speaks, she goes, oh, he's wrong. Oh, it's wrong. Oh, it's wrong. Oh, it's inaccurate. Oh, you're doing something like this. He does. She does it every time anyone speaks.
That's not the problem.
So what I do is the same thing that she does.
Sir. We already know what she does. Slick's point was you interrupted the discussion.
I'm not interrupting the discussion. I'm entering the discussion within a pause.
You interrupted the discussion between us. That's what Slick's point is.
And that's what Brenda does. But now you guys are going after me.
So why are you going to her
what Brenda
level?
Does.
Don't go to her level.
Oh my God!
I'm going to her level. But you guys don't understand the reason for it. Do you guys understand the reason I do it? Because Brenda does the same thing, but I get hit on by you guys for doing what Brenda does. But you guys don't really hit on Brenda and saying, hey, let Ebon speak.
Oh, we damn well hit on her. Haven't you paid attention?
Yeah, but you guys don't interrupt her
for a long time.
Okay,
you guys don't interrupt her when I do the same thing to her that she does to you. Do you understand that?
We all stop hitting on Brenda and get on with the hypothesis. So we've got all we need. So we've got her alternative hypothesis. Sunsets are caused by the rotation of the Earth. So ipso facto, we've got her her independent variable ready, John.
Yeah, we do. Let me get the null.
So fortunately, you've dodged the bullet, Eben. It didn't matter. We got what we needed from her before she dropped. She's given us her independent variable. Her independent variable is the rotation of the Earth.
Yeah, I understand that. I like to troll the trolls, but what's funny is you guys are saying, hey, stop doing what the troll is doing because we want to hear the troll speak and interrupt everyone else. And yeah, I get it.
Thank you, Ivan. We got it now. Let's go over what you gave us. Natural phenomena observed. Sunsets, her alternative hypothesis for sunsets are caused by the rotation of the Earth. So her independent variable, that is the cause, and that which she has to vary and manipulate to confirm the dependent variable is rotation of the Earth. I didn't do the non sequitur tautology test because this is a train wreck. To be a valid independent variable, it must be the cause. You must be able to vary and manipulate it. and it must demonstrably exist. So she can't vary and manipulate this, and she has not confirmed that it demonstrably exists. This is a train wreck. It's an affirming the consequent formological fallacy. Thank you.
And,
Yeah, that's where we
and
started
see, and
with
the thing is, she would have ran into that had she had the chance. She would have found out she was going to hit a brick wall.
Hey, Apollo.
No, she already found out.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. Hold on, we've got a new guest. Hey, Apollo, how you doing?
Hey, running through some new stuff, but unfortunately, not very good results so far. But
well, thank you. We'll get to you here in a minute. Slick, she knew that she hit a brick wall. That's why she dropped. As soon as she hit the brick wall immediately. She didn't know what an alternative hypothesis was, which isn't surprising. She didn't know that science proved things. Everything she says is from 2015 that has been pummeled over and over and over again. It's just a circle jerk with a labyrinth of incoherence from Dunning-Kruger pretender clowns. Thank you.
Right. And the thing is, I get it. It's just that I thought that I'm just pretending that I'm in the audience and I'm listening. I just wanted to hear what she had to say so that you can draw a conclusion. The only point that I'm trying to make is when a person is in a conversation, they can't talk to 2 or 3 people. I know this very well because whenever somebody's trying to talk to me and somebody else throws something in, now I forgot what the other person said. So now I'm confused, and now all of a sudden I seem stupid because I'm trying to divide my mind between 3 people. It's an impossible thing to do.
You're
that's
correct,
what Brenda does.
I agree with you.
It doesn't matter whoever's having a conversation. A troll like Brenda would say, that's wrong. And then she gets the floor. The conversation's ended. And it derails everything that's been going on. And that's the way that they do things. And I just tried to troll the troll, which is pretty simple. And she can't go anywhere else. I just act the same way that she acts. And she gets frustrated, and that's why she left.
Right, but only thing that does is
lower yourself to her level, man.
Okay, we already went over this. We don't need to hear it 5 or 6 times. Let's go to Tommy's claim before he left. He said that the stars, when I asked him, so the stars, the sun, moon, and stars rotate east to west in the north and west to east in the south. That's what he said. Of course, that's friggin' demonstrably inane. He should be institutionalized, but let's go with the citation here. From NASA, the sun, the moon, the planets, and the stars all rise in the east and set in the west. From the astronomy department at the University of Nebraska, for an observer on the Earth, objects move from east to west. This is true for both northern and southern hemispheres. From the path of the stars. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
We just quoted NASA?
Yeah. NASA can still be cited.
Yes, it's a hostile witness. The best of all worlds.
Actually, I was going to say something. He did say something earlier. I'm actually in a quieter place now that I can actually interject a little bit. He did make a statement that the stars rotate clockwise in in the northern or whatever, and then the opposite in the south. So he did make that statement. So that kind of got brushed over, but he did make that statement,
No,
which
it didn't
I think
get
would
brushed
be
over. I
observably
corrected
true.
him and said clockwise and counterclockwise are not directions.
Indeed. Apollo, I'm looking at your hi-fi Nirvana that you've got. I'm as proud as you are. Looks nice. Can't hear me because he's not got his headphones on.
Are those erased NASA tapes? I mean,
no. He's
hopefully you don't
it's an audio
record over the
reel-to-reel.
NASA moon landings, the original footage.
well, these tapes I got today. Wait, let me get a.
Last time Apollo was on, he said he was looking for a reel-to-reel, and I assume he's found one, and that's it.
Nathan, are we done going over this before we get into the NASA chicanery?
Well, maybe. I was kind of hoping to ask a couple of flat Earth related questions, although Apollo knows how to distract me really well. Just by sticking a bit of hi-fi in front of me. So that's what he's done, and now I'm completely distracted. But yeah, Apollo.
Question I was going to ask Tommy. Oops, sorry.
Oh, it's all right. Can we have your attention for a couple of minutes, though, Apollo, if it's possible? Maybe not.
Well, real quick, while he's getting himself question, one thing is I was going to ask Tommy, which I couldn't earlier. How does the atmosphere velcro itself to the surface of the Earth? I was going to ask him that question because he was going to try to figure out, that the atmosphere would hold the helicopter in position. What he would say.
That's
How does it do that?
preposterous. Listen, this is 2015, second grade arguments. Everyone listen. The atmosphere is made of gases. Gases have no intermolecular bonds. They are not spinning with the Earth. An easy test: east, north, and south surface winds. And clouds going different directions at different elevations. Listen, this is second grade stuff, gentlemen. Why are we talking about this? I need some cowbell. Give me some cowbell.
I'll answer you. I know it's rhetorical, but I don't care. So the answer is because most people don't understand the Coriolis effect. That's why.
We're stuck in the hedgerows of 2015. We're battling out in the hedgerows. We need to do some broken field running. Let's advance this discussion, people.
The Coriolis effect is dependent upon the Earth spinning, correct?
Yeah.
So let's observe the Earth spinning, and if the Earth doesn't spin, then the Coriolis effect is debunked pretty easily.
Well, yes and no. I would assert it slightly differently. I would assert that the reason there is so much confusion and obfuscation surrounding the subject of Coriolis effect is because it works in our favour, the flat earthers' favour. The assertion that there would be a Coriolis effect is correct, and they know it. That's why they assert they've got one, but they don't. So they put it into the arena of mainstream with doublespeak, so that people are left completely confused about what Coriolis effect actually is. Most people think it's something to do with weather formations and actual deflections occurring with clouds or storms, as opposed to the simplistic explanation of what it really is, two separate reference frames, which we definitely don't have. So that's why there's so much confusion around the subject. It's actually a very useful thing to understand if you're a flat earther and you want to debunk the notion that we are spinning, because the examples given to assert that we're spinning use two separate reference frames to assert it. And we all know what happens when you have two separate reference frames. Your helicopter takes off. I mean, I've not had such a... Tommy gave probably the best and most concise explanation with his first opening gambit for how we don't have Coriolis and how Coriolis is useful to debunk the notion that the Earth is spinning. He summed it up beautifully because logically he knows that there isn't one. He knows the Earth's not turning underneath the second reference frame of the atmosphere. It just isn't. He knows it. We all know it. But they assert there is one. Well, why? Because if we understood the concept of the Coriolis effect, we'd all be using it to debunk the notion that we're spinning. So they've got to wrap it in confusion.
I agree.
Hey Nathan, am I still sharing?
No, but you can be.
Let's go over one topic real quick. Does anyone have anything else on that? I took her train wreck hypothesis off.
No, you good.
Yeah, I want to go over this this issue with the ballers and their parrot that science only disproves or falsifies things, right? Let's go over this again. I did it in the scientific presentation the other day, but this is really important. Let's go over it. Be real quick. So, let's observe a natural phenomenon. Healthy type 1 diabetics suffer from diabetic ketoacidosis, apparently from the absence of adequate insulin. So the alternative hypothesis would be, given otherwise healthy type 1 diabetes patients, the lack of insulin will lead to diabetic ketoacidosis. The null is the mirror image of it. However, The only difference is the cause, presumed cause, will not lead to diabetic ketoacidosis. So the null. Given otherwise healthy type 1 diabetes patients, the lack of insulin will not lead to diabetic ketoacidosis. So, do you see that proving the alternative hypothesis that the lack of insulin will lead to diabetic ketoacidosis ipso facto falsifies and rejects this null hypothesis? Does everyone see that? Because if it does lead to diabetic ketoacidosis, then it ipso facto rejects or falsifies the will not part. Now, if we did this experiment and this one, alternative hypothesis, failed to validate, confirm, or prove that the lack of insulin leads to diabetic ketoacidosis, then this stands. It's the default. Does everyone understand that? Any questions?
Yeah, this is what lends its empirical nature and adequately demonstrates how it does prove things. And you've said it more succinctly. If it doesn't prove things, why the hell would we bother doing it?
Yeah. Another thing that Brenda said, like when you're mentioning that boiling temperature of water is 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and Brenda said, no, it doesn't boil at 14,000 feet. That's not true, because it still boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit at 14,000 feet elevation, but the boiling point doesn't have to be 212 degrees Fahrenheit to boil. It's like 185.
Yeah,
something.
that's a little squirrely right there. What she did was, listen, like I said, look at the hypothesis that was confirmed. She changed the parameters of the hypothesis. What did I say? Water boils at 212 degrees at sea level. That's 1 atmosphere of pressure. That's 101.325 kilopascals or 14.7 psi. So what she did, she immediately changed the condition and said, nuh-uh. So it's non sequitur.
Now, see, and me as being a listener, I hear something like that. And seeing the first thing I'm going to say to myself is, uh-oh, she's off. I can't even say that word, obfuscating. But I can tell that, and the audience can tell it too. So the only point that I'm making is when a person starts doing that, there's no point in jumping all over them because everybody got the point. When a person is running scared, you don't have to really just pounce on them because everybody can pick up on what's going on. That's all I'm saying.
But what I'm saying is, if nobody pounces on him, then what if the audience doesn't understand that there's a different boiling point for temperature, for boiling point for water at different elevations?
Because the thing is, the audience has to understand. Think about it like this, and I'll use my courtroom example again. Imagine you have a defense, but the prosecutor is both prosecutor and judge. Now imagine that scenario. That wouldn't work out too well, would it?
Well, that would be like, who's that? I am the law.
But that wouldn't work too well, would it?
No.
Okay, so that's
I'm not disagreeing with you.
No, so that's the only point that I'm making, because that's what happens when you're in a debate with a person. If you're playing the prosecutor and the judge, well, then all of a sudden it's an unfair advantage. And just because they do it doesn't mean that we do it back, because all we get is when we're on their floor, they're the judge and the prosecutor. When we're on our floor, we're the judge and the prosecutor. What has to happen is when two people have a conversation, there has to be a third party that mediates so that the person isn't his own judge. You can't play two positions at the same time.
I was mediating. Brenda made an incorrect statement, so I said, look, 212 degrees at 14,000 feet of elevation, it still boils. I mean, I have to correct a mistake.
Yeah,
Brenda's
but we're
saying,
looking for boiling point. It'll boil everything after the 212. Yeah, we got
exactly.
that. So
everything after the boiling point of like 185 degrees.
That's a little squirrely because we're saying boiling point, not boiling. Boiling point. Big difference.
Yeah, I know. But he's saying that it doesn't boil at 14,000 feet at 212 degrees. It does.
It's still squirrely. You know what I'm talking
and see,
about.
Right now, guys, right there, that's a good discussion. That's something that you can hash out. You know, that can go back and forth in a nice, organized manner. Does it? I mean, that's a good question. What are you saying, Iban? Does it actually boil at, what is the temperature it boils at a level?
At 14,000 feet, it boils at around 185 degrees Fahrenheit. No matter what, it'll still boil at higher temperatures. But Brenda's saying because it's a different elevation, it won't boil at 212 degrees. So I need to correct that, saying it does still boil at 212 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, but
and like I said,
that
there's
squirrely.
a difference here. Wait a second, Slick. There's a difference here. Of course, the water's going to boil. We're not talking. Listen to these two words: boiling point. The emphasis is on the point part, not boiling. You got me.
I get that. I get that.
Okay.
Because what Eban is saying is now you got variable boiling points, but that's not the quotation. The quotation is that at sea level, it's 212. Now maybe at a higher level, there's a point, but that point might be 185. So I get that.
Yeah, it's 185. But Brenda was saying it doesn't boil at 212 degrees.
Oh my God, we're not going to go over this.
But that's false.
Yeah, but I see John's point on this.
Who's making all that noise?
I kind of understand John's point on that one.
Okay, so Nathan, you still sharing this? Are we done with this? I'll go ahead and clean this up. I mean, this is a train wreck. Did you want to go over this?
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Hey, Tarquin, can you hear us? Hello? Sorry, John.
Hey.
Yeah, like I said, I still have the train wreck hypothesis or the scientific method up. So do you want to go over this one quick time, or?
No, I mean, happy to summarize that you can't vary and manipulate the independent variable of rotation of Earth.
Right, so this is a train wreck. So are we done with this?
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and clean this up and stop screen sharing. Thank you.
No worries.
When we were talking psychology earlier, while it's not exactly psychology, the nature versus nurture, what's utilized a lot are twin studies, because identical twins share pretty much exactly 100% their genetic traits and whatnot. Now, what's great about that is if you do something like testing vaccines, you've got one vaccine you're given to a twin, and you've got another twin that doesn't get that vaccine, and you expose them to what the vaccine is supposedly supposed to prevent, and see if the vaccine works or not. And that's better than just taking 1,000 random people and seeing whether or not the vaccine works with those 1,000 random people, because there's variability in genetic traits. Someone could be just more naturally immune to some type of disease out there.
Yes, that's true. That's not the point, though. The point is psychology an actual science? Can it follow the scientific method? That was the question. And it's a resounding no. Why is it a no?
Oh, that's what that's the point I was, hold on a second.
Yeah, it's a resounding no. It can't follow the scientific method.
And that's John, that's because it's not in the physical and natural world, correct?
It is. It is. However, you won't be able to isolate, independent variables. It would be almost impossible. I'd like to see a psychologist come on here and show us, with our steps, natural phenomena, alternative hypothesis. They won't be able to do this. They won't be able to go through the method.
The way I was thinking about it, if you guys can hear me, is that's why I said nature versus nurture. I was going to use that. I was kind of trying to say it real quickly. You could do that, but it would be unethical, because to show that whether the nature has a factor in the development of a child, you would have to eliminate any kind of natural environment for the child, which would be unethical. So you couldn't do that.
Yeah, so there's too many.
You could do it.
Hold on.
There'd be too many confounding variables. You couldn't
right.
You couldn't get a hold of it, right?
Right. Right. And see, I had to do a paper when I was in college a long time ago on feral children. Have you ever heard that term? You know what feral children are?
Yes. I had to take psychology too. Yeah.
So okay, yeah. And I thought that was just going through that process, just thinking about, like the children that were literally raised by wolves, and it's happened, or raised in an environment where there's no social interaction, and what that did to the child, and it did stunt their growth. That shows a sense that the environment has a factor in childhood development. Now,
sorry to
yeah, you're right. It
Paul.
can't. Go ahead.
Sorry. Shout out to Audrey Girly Girl for the super chat. Says invite link to Science versus Pseudoscience Discord. It's not my server, it's Betty's, so I don't fully understand how that works, but I will look into it for you, and if I can, I'll post one in the info box.
Yeah, what's her problem? She can't get into it.
She wants an invite link.
Hey, needs an invite link.
Would that
Hold
be
on a second,
social science? I'm sorry. I was going to say, would that be social science? Because that's different than the physical natural world. That's social science. Am I correct?
Yeah, in a way, you're on the right lines. But it's already been summed up, and I want to reiterate it. That's why I asked Brenda for her independent variable when I was like, give me the independent variable for psychology. Well, independent soul, independent cause of an effect. Well, if you're talking about neural pathways and the influences of nature, is that something that you can isolate as an independent variable? Absolutely not. The nature versus nurture, would you class nature as an independent variable that you can vary and manipulate? Well, no, most definitely and assuredly not. You can't isolate the sole cause of an effect in that particular discipline. You're never going to. You can allude to it, you can do group studies, you can do all sorts of different things that gives you a correlation. Sound familiar? But that's as good as you're going to get.
And too, on top of that, now see, when she resorted to that was her showing that she was on the ropes. See, that's when you get punched and your knees start to wobble under you. That's when you're trying to find some kind of way to get ground. So you just do anything you can to buy time. And that's what it sounds like she was doing, because she was totally moving away from the point.
Nathan, I dropped the Discord link in the Skype chat. So if you can grab it and post that, that'll be good. Sorry to interrupt.
Now, there are things that psychology can look into that does occur, and there are phenomenons. But as far as putting them into an empirical evidence it's not necessarily always the case. It's more of like most likely than not. For example, hypnotism. Hypnotism is a phenomenon that actually occurs, can be tested on individuals, and they do follow the hypnotic suggestions, and it's observable, it's testable, it's variable. Certain things you can do with hypnotism, certain things you can't. And I've done it. So it's something that you can run scientific method tests for it at the individual level, but at the certain people aren't hypnotizable, or they're less susceptible and things like that.
Yeah.
Now, what question? I was going to say, go ahead. I was going to say one question I would have for that is like what John was saying. Can you put that in a hypothesis? In other words, can you have an observed, what would be the observed phenomenon in that case?
So I would go through the hypnosis suggestions method, right? With 10 people, and see if anyone, how many of those people are susceptible to hypnosis. And so, okay, let's say 6 out of the 10 people are hypnotized. Okay, for the ones who are hypnotizable, if I do different types of suggestions, which one will actually accept those hypnotic suggestions and do that when they are at their post-hypnotic state?
Well, could you repeat that?
And you would repeat that by doing the same experiment with the same 10 people. The same, someone else could be the hypnotist and say the exact same words, same exact suggestions, and see however many people become hypnotized. See however many people who are hypnotized do the same hypnotic suggestions after their post-hypnotic situation.
Interesting.
Well, see, I think I was thinking about that because I've done a lot of study on vaccines. I don't like bringing it up here very much, but it's something I do know a lot about. And I think, like to say, like empirically to say whether Lily is going to be injured from a vaccine, there's too many variables to determine that. I can't say that empirically, and neither can a doctor, because she may come out one end of it perfectly fine, the other end not come out. And it really comes down to statistics. Really, you're looking at what are the odds of something happening. And I think even your hypnosis scenario there is only a statistical probability. Will this person be hypnotized or not? So really, it can't be necessarily empirical, because you can't determine, well, if I sit down and get hypnotized, can you prove that or not? Well, the only way to do it is to try it. And so if I do, if I don't, then, is hypnosis, something scientifically viable? I think it starts to fall apart.
Well, yeah,
am I thinking correct on that?
I was going to say that I was going to say that you wouldn't be able to write that down like you could saying that water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit at sea level. That's not something that you could write down at any time I do hypnosis, that this particular wave of the wand is going to cause this effect, because that would vary every single time. Am I correct? Does that sound right?
Well, the thing is, you're looking for the variables in certain aspects. Is okay, after you observe the first phenomena of trying to get people under hypnosis, it's like you got two different questions. Why are those 6 people susceptible to hypnosis? And then the other question is, why are those 4 other people not susceptible to hypnosis or susceptible to hypnosis? And so you can go at different rates. And then within those 6 people that were under hypnosis, you can go through all the variable types of hypnotic suggestions and which ones actually adhere to those suggestions and which ones don't. And then you further differentiate, okay, now why do these people are they susceptible to every suggestion that we've put them under? And then maybe there's 1 or 2 people that don't. And then you could just you keep questioning, you keep looking into the variables and why those variables exist. And you can repeat the same thing. And it's like, why after 100 hypnotic tests using different hypnotists, but the same script and the same thing is like, why these 4 never become susceptible? And then you go into trying to figure out why. Maybe, and twin studies could be a thing to use. Instead of having 10 random people, you use people who are genetically similar 100%, see if it's the same thing, after 100 hypnotic tests. Is maybe one twin isn't hypnotizable at all. That doesn't make sense.
I think this is all a red herring. We're going down the...
No, yeah, that's how I'm trying to explain the scientific method where the evidence isn't empirical. They're looking into the variables that continue to exist after repeated tests.
But the thing is, every time you change 100 people, you could get different results, though.
Yeah, that's why you try to keep it as controlled as you can using the same 100 people with the different variables.
Okay, can
you try to create a control?
Sorry to interrupt. Just want to varying before we get to the end of the live show. So, what you're going to get at the end of this study is a statistical likelihood of something. Would you agree?
Yes.
Right. So you are definitely not establishing the cause.
Correct.
Well, if it was science, you'd be establishing the cause of an effect, as opposed to drawing a correlation based on a statistical likelihood. That's not
it's
science.
Trying to find that cause by looking at the correlations. So
I don't dispute that there is potentially some validity, and you can attribute numbers to how statistically likely it is. But that still does not give you a cause.
Correct.
Right, but that's what science is interested in.
Yeah, I know. I'm not disagreeing with you.
But that's why I'm correcting you, because you're saying I'm showing how the scientific method can be used to draw a correlation, give you a statistical likelihood. Well, no. That's the problem we're encountering, isn't it, Eben? That people assert that they've got the scientific method and then they draw a correlation or a statistical likelihood, but they assert that they've established the cause of hypnotism at the end. I'm not saying you're doing that, but that's the problem.
It's difficult because it is a very broad. I mean, there's just so much variables. It's trying to get those variables to pinpoint a potential cause where they can actually say 100% this variable causes this. But that's their goal. But you can't do that without first trying to minimize all the variables within the environment.
Yes, well, that's very well put. As in the scientific method, you are looking for the independent variable, the sole cause of an effect. So with that, I will say a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley 1980 live audience for tuning in, smashing the super chat, and hopefully sharing this live debate. Be sure to share if you haven't done already. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this live debate possible. If you're watching on the Nathan Oakley channel, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!